My name is Myrna. In a bustling corner of Seattle's vibrant Pike Place market, my small flower shop, Bloom and Bind, was the fruit of my dreams and hard work. When the first rays of morning sun fell upon the glass windows, the entire shop would fill with the fragrance of freshly bloomed roses. In every petal, I felt as if I was weaving stories of love and care with my own hands. My life was a beautiful garden I had cultivated myself, where every moment was fresh and vibrant. I believed that standing on my own feet wasn't just about financial independence, but an indomitable desire to fully develop my own being. This belief gave me strength and guided my path. Seattle's wet weather and green nature further enhanced my creativity. My flower shop quickly gained recognition among the city's residents, because each of my floral arrangements was a beautiful blend of modernity and nature. I didn't just arrange flowers, behind every arrangement lay a story, an emotion. From wedding bouquets to funeral wreaths, I poured my soul into every piece. The interior decor of my shop was also a work of art. Old wooden furniture, hand-painted murals, and soft lighting created a calm and serene atmosphere that touched the hearts of customers. Alongside my business success, my personal life was also full of love. Ethan, my fiancé, was an inseparable part of my life. Ethan was a software engineer, but his heart was as sensitive as a poet's. He was calm, discerning, and loved me deeply. Our relationship was a perfect example of mutual respect, trust, and understanding. Ethan was by my side in every small and large decision, my silent supporter. He considered my dreams his own and always encouraged me. When I was contemplating a new design, Ethan would patiently listen to me and offer his own opinions, which often added new dimensions to my work. Our engagement had taken place a year ago, on a beautiful evening by Lake Union. Ethan had knelt and proposed to me, and I had cried tears of joy. That moment was one of the most beautiful moments of my life. The wedding date had also been set, only a few months remained. All preparations were in full swing. Our friends, family, everyone was excited. All in all, my life was a reflection of completeness, like a beautiful melody, but hidden beneath this happiness was an unseen thread, slowly complicating my life. This thread was my aunt, Carol. Carol was a highly influential and wealthy woman in Seattle. Her husband was a successful real estate developer, and their social standing was enviable. From the outside, she appeared to be the epitome of philanthropy, with her active participation in various charitable works being quite noticeable. But her inner self was a complex web of envy and control. She always wanted everything to be under her control, to proceed according to her wishes. My father, John, was a highly successful and renowned architect. The buildings he designed added a new dimension to Seattle's landscape. After his death, he willed all his property to me. This will displeased both Carol and my mother, Susan. Carol had always been envious of my father. She believed that her younger sister, Susan, my mother, had always received more advantages than her. After my father's death, Susan was emotionally broken and became quite dependent on Carol. Carol began to take advantage of this situation. This long-standing suppressed resentment intensified further around my father's will. Carol believed that this property was rightfully hers, as she saw herself as Susan's older sister and the head of the family. Initially, Carol's conspiracies were small, almost invisible. For example, spreading rumors in the market to tarnish the reputation of my flower shop. She would tell her acquaintances, "Myrna's flower shop is doing well, but her designs are rather conventional." Or, "She's doing business with her father's money, she has no talent of her own." These kinds of small comments gradually created doubt in people's minds about my business. She would try to divert some of my clients to other shops, convincing them that better quality flowers could be found elsewhere. At first, I viewed these as mere business competition, and didn't give them much importance. I was so engrossed in my work and Ethan's love that these small blows seemed trivial to me. I thought, there will always be competition in business, and my work is my best advertisement. One day, a regular client of my shop, Mrs. Davis, a retired school teacher, informed me that Carol had said some negative things about me. Mrs. Davis was a very honest and straightforward woman. She liked me very much. She said, "Myrna, your Aunt Carol was telling me that stale flowers are sold in your shop, and that you don't treat clients well." I couldn't believe it, so I came directly to ask you. Although surprised, I dismissed the matter. I thought, perhaps Auntie said something in jest, or there was a misunderstanding. I assured Mrs. Davis that such a thing was never possible, but Ethan's keen eye caught these incidents. He became worried after hearing Mrs. Davis's words. He would tell me, "Myrna, why would your aunt say such things about you? Is it just a joke? This is harmful to your business." I would laugh it off. "Ethan, you think too much. Auntie only wants my good. Maybe she's just a bit too caring towards me, that's why she said something like that." But a doubt lingered in Ethan's mind. He quietly began to observe Carol's activities. He knew that something was hidden beneath Carol's sweet words, something that was not good for me. Ethan loved me, so he wanted to protect me from any danger, even if that danger came from my own family. He created a file on his laptop, naming it Carol File, where he began to note down the date and details of each of Carol's suspicious activities. This was the first step of his silent resistance. He didn't know that this file would one day change our lives. Carol's conspiracies gradually escalated. She realized that small rumors wouldn't be enough to deter me. This time, her target was my most vulnerable point, my mother, Susan. Susan was a simple-minded and somewhat weak-willed woman. After her husband's death, she was even more emotionally broken, and became quite dependent on her older sister, Carol. Carol began to take advantage of this opportunity. She convinced Susan that my independent spirit was actually a symptom of my mental illness. She would tell Susan, "Susan, Myrna has become too stubborn lately. She does as she pleases, doesn't listen to anyone. This is not a good sign." Susan, who believed her sister's words as gospel, gradually began to be influenced by Carol's words. One day, a theft occurred at my flower shop. Some valuable flowers, especially exotic orchids, and cash went missing. The Seattle police investigated, but found no leads. A masked person was seen in the shop's CCTV footage, but their identity could not be determined. Carol seized this opportunity. She convinced Susan that I myself had staged the theft to claim insurance money. She would tell Susan, "Look, Susan, Myrna's business isn't doing well. She's burdened with debt. That's why she staged this theft." She also said that my business was not doing well and I was burdened with debt. Susan, who believed her sister's words as gospel, began to question me about this. "Myrna, are you really having money problems? Are you hiding something?" I was stunned. My own mother didn't believe me. I tried repeatedly to explain that I was innocent, but Susan was so engrossed by Carol's influence that she was unwilling to listen to me. I could see disbelief and suspicion in her eyes, which wounded my heart. Sometime after this incident, a crucial business deal of mine was almost finalized. A large hotel chain in Seattle had chosen my flower shop for all their events. For this deal, I needed some urgent documents, including my business license, tax documents, and some client references. I had kept the files in my office drawer. But suddenly, those documents disappeared from my file. I searched frantically, but couldn't find them. I ransacked my entire shop, but to no avail. In the end, the deal slipped through my fingers. The hotel management lost faith in me. This incident further distressed me mentally. I couldn't understand why this was happening to me. It felt as if some invisible force was working against me, which I couldn't see, but could feel. I was becoming increasingly isolated. My mother also couldn't believe me. Susan, influenced by Carol's words, began to suggest taking me to a doctor. She would say, "Myrna, what's wrong with you? Why are you acting like this? You're not well. Let's go see a doctor." She insisted on taking me to a psychiatrist. To me, this was the ultimate insult. I knew I was healthy, but my mother thinking I was sick was unbearable for me. I tried to explain to my mother that I was fine, but she wouldn't listen. I could see fear and anxiety in her eyes, which Carol had instilled in her mind. Ethan silently observed this entire situation. He understood that these incidents were not isolated. A well-planned conspiracy was at play. Every step, every word of Carol's raised suspicion in Ethan's mind. He realized that this was not just a family dispute, but a deep-seated conspiracy. He would comfort me, "Myrna, you are not alone. I am by your side." But comfort alone wouldn't suffice, proof was also needed. So Ethan quietly began to collect evidence of Carol's every activity. He would note down the date and details of every incident, every phone call, every suspicious activity in his laptop's Carol file. He recorded Carol's phone calls, tracked her movements, and even secretly collected her bank statements. He sought the help of some trusted friends who assisted him in gathering this information. He knew that one day, this evidence would prove my innocence and expose Carol's true colors. Ethan was my silent warrior, fighting for me without my knowledge. He would tell me, "Myrna, the truth will come out one day. You just have to be patient." These words gave me strength and kept me going. The wedding date was approaching. Only a few days left. My mind was filled with mixed emotions. On one hand, the excitement of starting a new life with Ethan, and on the other, the pressure of Carol's continuous conspiracies. I knew Carol wouldn't give up easily, but I couldn't have imagined she would stoop so low. An unknown fear gnawed at me. I would tell Ethan, "Ethan, I feel like something bad is going to happen." Ethan would reassure me, "Don't be afraid, Myrna. I am by your side. We will face everything together." Carol was now preparing her final blow. She knew that the wedding day was her last chance to break me mentally. She had turned my mother into her puppet. Susan now believed every word of Carol's as gospel. Carol convinced her that my marriage would bring dishonor to her family, because I was supposedly mentally ill, and if this illness was exposed to everyone, their social standing would be ruined. She would tell Susan, "Susan, do you want everyone to see your daughter's madness? Do you want your family's honor to be trampled?" Susan was so influenced by Carol's words that she lost the ability to discern what was good or bad for her own daughter. The night before the wedding, as I was dreaming of my new life and tidying up the last tasks at my flower shop, that dreadful incident occurred. Carol had Susan call all 94 of my wedding guests. In each call, Susan made false accusations against me. She said, "My daughter is mentally ill. None of you should come to the wedding. If this wedding happens, our family's honor will be lost." She labeled me crazy and forbade everyone from attending the wedding. She even claimed that their entire family agreed with this decision. When Susan was telling me these things over the phone, there was a strange hesitation in her voice, as if she wasn't speaking of her own free will, but was being controlled by someone. When this news reached me, I completely broke down. The most important day of my life, which I had adorned with so many dreams, was about to be ruined in an instant. My own mother, from whom I had expected the most support, had done such a heinous thing against me. I felt like the loneliest person in the world. Tears streamed uncontrollably from my eyes. It felt as if all my dreams, all my hopes, had vanished in an instant. I sat on the floor of my flower shop, the phone in my hand trembling. It felt as if my world had collapsed. When Ethan saw me in this state, his heart broke. He hugged me and began to comfort me. Myrna, you are not alone. I am by your side. He assured me that Carol's conspiracy would not succeed. He said, I have all the evidence, Myrna. I have been quietly collecting evidence of Carol's every lie, every sabotage, every manipulation for 2.5 years. I knew this day would come. Ethan's words brought some courage back to my heart. I knew Ethan would never lie to me. But after such a huge blow, it was impossible for me to be normal. My mind kept telling me that everything was over. Ethan explained to me that our love was not so fragile, that a single phone call from Carol could break it. He told me, we will fight this war together, Myrna. Just hold my hand. At that moment, only one question was swirling in my mind: what would tomorrow be like? An empty altar, with no guests, only the sound of my and Ethan's broken dreams. But in Ethan's eyes, I saw an indomitable determination that showed me a new dream of living. He told me, Myrna, tomorrow will be the most memorable day of your life, I promise you. These words instilled a new hope in my heart. Finally, that day arrived, my wedding day. From morning, my heart was heavy. I knew that no guests would come to my wedding today. My mother had called me to inform me that no one would come. It felt as if I was going through a nightmare. I put on my wedding dress, bowed my head, and walked towards the altar. I was wearing a white lace gown, holding a bouquet of orchids, but my heart was filled with a deep emptiness. The auditorium of that beautiful church in Seattle was almost empty. A handful of relatives, who had defied Carol's phone call, sat in the corners, their eyes filled with sympathy and sorrow. I walked alone down that empty aisle. Every step I took was filled with unspoken pain. The pastor stood on the stage, his eyes also filled with sadness. My mother, Susan, sat beside Carol, her face showing mixed emotions: on one hand, remorse for having wronged her daughter, and on the other, the helplessness of remaining silent out of fear of Carol. Carol's face wore a triumphant smile, as if she had succeeded in her long-standing plan. Just then, that miraculous event occurred. 200 strangers entered through the back doors. All of them were wearing identical jackets, with Ethan's troop written on their chests. They silently filled every seat. The auditorium instantly filled with chatter, laughter, and whispers. The pastor was stunned, his eyes wide with disbelief. My mother and Carol were speechless. There were no words on their faces, only disbelief and astonishment. Carol's phone rang, but she was in no condition to answer it. Her hands were trembling. I looked on in surprise. I couldn't understand who these people were. Ethan came and stood beside me. A triumphant smile was on his face. He took my hand and said, "These are all my friends, Myrna. They all know about Carol's conspiracy." Ethan led me towards the stage. Then Ethan opened a file he was holding. The file was packed with evidence, almost 156 documents. He looked at the pastor and said, "I am here today to reveal a truth." Ethan meticulously presented the details of each of Carol's lies, every act of sabotage, every manipulation. He showed how Carol had tried to tarnish the reputation of my flower shop, how she had fabricated incidents to prove me mentally ill, how she had made my important documents disappear, and how she had influenced my mother to forbid guests from attending the wedding. Ethan also played some audio recordings from his laptop, where Carol was instigating Susan against me. He showed copies of bank statements, where Carol had made some transactions to harm my business. With every word from Ethan, Carol's true colors were exposed. The reasons for her long-standing envy and greed for property became clear. She had orchestrated all these conspiracies out of greed for my father's property, and to marry me off to her son. Carol bowed her head in shame. All her arrogance crumbled in an instant. The crowd present looked at her with disgust. My mother, Susan, broke down in remorse after hearing all this. She realized how greatly she had wronged her daughter. She rushed to me and apologized. Myrna, please forgive me. I have done you great injustice. I hugged my mother. Tears of joy streamed from my eyes. My mother believed me. That was the greatest achievement for me. Carol's social standing was instantly shattered. Legal proceedings were initiated against her, as the evidence Ethan possessed was irrefutable. The high position she held in society was lost forever. Local Seattle news outlets widely reported the incident, further accelerating Carol's downfall. Ethan and I began our new life. Our love deepened even further. We became even more dependent on each other. This incident taught us that even in the most difficult moments of life, if you have a trustworthy partner by your side, any adversity can be overcome. Our wedding was a new definition of love, where truth and trust triumphed. This story is not just a wedding story. It is a story about documentation, quiet strength, and the kind of love that prepares for war so you don't have to fight alone. Myrna and Ethan proved that no matter how strong the web of conspiracy woven with unseen threads, it will eventually be torn apart by the light of truth. Their story remains an inspiration, stating that the power of love is the greatest power, capable of dispelling any darkness.